Now you talked about the importance of communication or inclusive way of communication. It's very important, and we Japanese can learn how you coordinate or you facilitate the process to 100% renewables. Then, どうしよう、先に写真やります。So now we would like to raise some questions to you. Yes. My first question is that you mentioned about bird and wind. In Japan now we are going to increase wind turbines, but because we lack in the appropriate regulation or rules to select the place of the wind turbines or how we can use the areas. We don't have very detailed rules for the construction or planning. So I heard that Denmark has very kind of strict regulation kind of construction. How do you choose the place of wind turbine?
Well, the choice of place is a planning process where you could say that it's a mix of private interest. If you have most of the land in Denmark is owned by farmers, and the farmers, they have a clear interest in having wind turbines on their land because they can either own the wind turbines or they can lease out land to build the wind turbines on. So they have a financial interest in the project, and some of the farmers also have a green interest because they like wind turbines. And then you could say we try to mix it with community-owned wind turbines also, and then we say to the farmers, okay, if you want to have a wind turbine there, would you then allow us to lease a piece of land or buy a piece of land to have next to your wind turbine a cooperative-owned wind turbine? Because in the planning, the Danish planners or the authorities have said that we don't want to have one turbine in one place, because then we have one here, one there, and the planning will be very confused and very bad. So we want to have groups of wind turbine, and a group in Denmark is defined like 3 to 5 turbines. So you need 3 turbines to be a group. So 3 to 5 is a group, and more than 5 is a park, a wind park. Yeah, and some places like Samsø has not been recognized as suitable for wind parks. A wind park is too much. To have more than 5 turbines in one place on Samsø will kind of dominate the landscape. So we have some rules trying to indicate what type of construction can you have in specific types of landscape, which is good for the planners. And then we as advisors already know that in this area we can only go for like 3 to 5 turbines, and then we can see if we can coordinate to put the turbines in a place where it doesn't harm the nature. It is not near the coast, so it will spoil the horizon, or it's not near migrating bird migrating routes, and still there's a lot of things, and we ask the biologists and the nature people about their advice in the planning, and they can actually say no. They have in the hearing process, when we send out the plan, they can say we like the turbines to be moved a little bit more this direction, because there's some birds that move this in this direction. So it's actually a very what do you call it, holistic planning, where we try to listen to all the interest of people here.
So normally how long does it take to from first planning to construction?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because sometimes if there's no problems at all, if it's in pure farmland where there's no interest in at all, it can take maybe 3 to 6 months. But if it's a problem area where you have some people with specific interest, it can be not just on their because of themselves. If they have a house nearby the wind turbine, they can say, no, we don't want to wind turbine because it'll bring down the price of my house, or so I need some compensation for this. And then we have to negotiate the compensation on sort of things, and it can take quite a long time. So sometimes up to 2 years actually.
2 years.
Yeah.
So democracy needs time.
Yes, you need time to talk. I mean, you have in the planning you have to be prepared for a process. It takes time. Yes.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
何か質問ありますか?
What is the current energy distribution of Denmark? Not nationally.
We have a very good very strong grid and network, and this allows us to have about 6,000 wind turbines in total in Denmark, and about 20% of all electricity is produced from wind power, which is amongst one of the highest percentages of nations in the world. And it's only possible because we have what is called a decentralized structure. We have 6 or 7 coal-fired power plants, like big central power plants, and they are old, and we're actually working to decommission them now because we want to reduce the CO2 emission, and then have decentralized combined heat and power units to heat the houses in the wintertime and produce electricity also. And if we have enough of them all over Denmark, then you could say that the structure will then be stronger, because then you can actually have islands in Denmark, not physical islands, but islands in a system meaning. So the controllers of the system can then say, well, the wind turbine has stopped producing out there in the west, so we can decouple some parts of Denmark and say now they have to run their own system. So it's actually a more flexible and more intelligent system, and you can at all time use the most profitable energy source and redirect it and say now it's combined heat and power, and the main source is wind power. In a moment the wind will drop and we'll then fuel up the straw-fired combined heat and power plants.
It's kind of similar to the smart grid idea, right?
Yeah, it is. It is the beginning of the smart grid. That's right. And this is the aim is to be complete smart grid system.
So I read your academy's report. So district heating system is constructed by living people in Samso. So how they study about the energy or green technology, and how they do about this system?
Well, it's a good question actually, because it leads to. I didn't mention this in my introduction. We have to educate the plumbers and the business people to know something about district heating, about solar panels, about wood chip boilers, and about piping and all these sort of things, because this was new. Of course, they are skilled workers and they can weld and they can do things. So it's not a matter of their capacity as technicians, but it's a new technology, and we need to train people to install things like this. So what we did was we invited we have an institution in Denmark called the Institution of Technology, and it's an educational program, and we invited teachers to come over and train the plumbers and the blacksmiths of Samsø. So they were then certified installers of district heating, of solar panels, and of wood chips and stuff like that. So then, I mean, then they were qualified, and they could also have a security stamp on it. So if they make a failure, they were included in the branch of security of installing the capacity. But it took a little time to convince the plumbers that they should participate in this, because they said, yeah, I don't need to do that, I can fix this, I can put up a solar panel. But they couldn't. They made a lot of failures. So actually they generally accepted that it was good for business, that they had this ability, because otherwise we would invite certified plumbers from outside to Samsø, and they didn't want that. They wanted to have the jobs also. So I mean, it was a really good question, because it is a good driver also for a local community that green technology creates new jobs or keeps the jobs locally. Yes.
I have one more question. You mentioned that the facilities in the Samsø Island was financed by the local residents by bank loan. So how bankers can make the decision to make loan for the residents?
That's also a very good question. Yeah, because that is the other side of the coin. I mean, the financing is difficult. If the banks don't see the potential of this, they won't give you the money. So we have to find a way to convince them that this is a profitable investment. So to give us the money, we need to know the price, and for that, we in Denmark we have a politically decided minimum price for electricity if you have a wind turbine, which is called in English it's called the feed-in tariff.
Yeah.
And the feed-in tariff is really good because it gives me as a private investor a security of price for the next 10 years, which allows me to go to the bank and say, I want to invest a sum of money in a wind turbine. And the bank will say, yes, and what is the payback? And I can then say, okay, from the predictions of the wind speeds and the production here, which are very accurate, we have a world wind atlas, where you could see the wind speeds in average per year almost all over the world. And it's very accurate actually. You can have variations, but not a lot, especially not for the big turbines. Then you know the production in kilowatt hours per year, and you know the minimum price. So you would minimum have this income per year for your investment. And because this is a traditional thing in Denmark, and there's a lot of experience, then the banks can check it and see, oh, it's correct, it's good information, so here you have the money. And the same thing with district heating. The investment in a new facility compared with the price of oil was so much cheaper, maybe 20% cheaper than oil, then you could see that every year it would be profitable. They would actually save money on top of the bank interest that they had to pay for the investment. There'd still be a saved sum of money per year. So the banks would be, they were safe. So it was not even near a risky investment. It was really safe investment in infrastructure. So I think due to a national top-down policy, having a feed-in tariff and all these sort of things, we could work with the banks, and they could work with us also. But it was essential that we had this political decision, like a framework of energy security or energy pricing.
Yes. Now we may have new energy policy as a feed-in tariff.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's very good.
It's very good.
Okay, so can we go to the photo show of Samson Island?
今年の4月にサムソ島に伺ってきたんですが、今ここにいる人たちは事前にサムソ島について知っている人たちなんですが、まだ今日本はこの大変な状況でエネルギーシフトについて成功しているサムソ島のことについて知りたいという方がたくさんいらっしゃると思いますので、この後よかったらその写真をお見せしながら、それについてゾウレに簡単にその発電所の説明をしていただけたらと思います。